Hi everybody and welcome to another episode of Neurodivergent Nook, our podcast featuring me, Helen Neal. I'm an autistic ADHD therapist and Diane Franer as well. I'll let her introduce herself.
Hey everybody, Diane Franer here, previous teacher and Senko and head teacher, and currently a foster carer and tutor and coach to neurodivergent children and teenagers. Oh, and I have ADHD and autism too. You haven't guessed
that bit.
Well, you haven't guessed.
So today we're actually going to be talking about something that is highly relevant to both of us.
Yep.
And that's menopause and neurodivergence, our own particular kind of neurodivergence, of course, and we've talked a bit before about both of us being autistic ADHD and how that, I suppose, stage of life affects us as individuals. And I did a little bit of research, get me, for this, for this podcast, and I was really shocked about how little research there is around how menopause affects ADHD traits and autistic traits, and how that experience is for women. And you know, having gone through it myself, and I guess we're effectively really waiting for the science to catch up. There are definitely pockets of research, you know, and I've found stuff that focuses on autistic ADHDers and how the change in hormone levels, obviously estrogen drops, can affect things like focus and emotional dysregulation. But we really do need to know more about it to help us to understand what's going on in our bodies.
Yeah, totally agree with that. And I think obviously then there's that gap again, isn't there, that if you are a woman, for example, of our age, that's, you know, going to see the doctor for the first time or the 40th time, none of my neurodivergent sort of peers and colleagues have sat in with a doctor, and the doctor's also factored in and threaded in the fact that the patient is sitting there also autistic and ADHD with perimenopausal symptoms. There's absolutely no conversations being had there, you know. It's just focusing, isn't it, on that kind of medical, you know, model, you know, what are your symptoms, you know, do we need to give you HRT or not? There has to be, doesn't there? There has to start to be conversations around how that's affecting your neurodivergence, or is your neurodivergence affecting it more, you know? It all just weaves together, doesn't it? That's part of that person.
Absolutely. And again, something that maybe the research needs to catch up on is we've heard an awful lot in the news about the increase in diagnosis, in inverted commas. Well, actually what's really happening is more people are being discovered because we understand things more, and I think an awful lot of that is related to the experience that older women, I say older delicately, being one of them, and I was only diagnosed in my late 40s, early 50s, and I, you know, from my own personal perspective, there was absolutely a link to perimenopause and menopause. But the science doesn't seem to be at one with the lived experience yet. Some of the things that I've previously been able to work through, and that focus and that regulation, it just didn't feel like it was working anymore.
No, just like literally like a light switch, isn't it? Dong. Hold on a second, what stage of my life am I in?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you suddenly make that connection.
Yes.
And anxiety actually was probably one of the things that I noticed ramp up
significantly. Same for me. And I mean, is that what then made you think I need to go and have a chat with somebody? Or
well, actually it's interesting because I was already in therapy because I'm a therapist. I need to have therapy, and it was more about that sudden realization that you know, I was at a particular life stage. I didn't go to the doctor. I did my own research. I'm autistic, and I looked into it, and it was something that, you know, that they talk about hormonal fluctuations and how that can affect anxiety in women. But it was maybe a little bit of a slow burn.
Yeah,
really.
sure. And I think that kind of was happening all around the same time for you, wasn't it, with the diagnosis and stuff as well?
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to think, it's a bit like what came first, the chicken or the egg for me, whether I was starting to become perimenopausal and I hadn't realised it. Like you, the anxiety was increasing significantly. I was also, thinking about starting to change my job, and then, waiting to see whether I had ADHD, and then, getting one diagnosis, then going on HRT, and then getting my autism diagnosis, and since then I've changed HRT twice. How on earth do you compartmentalise all of those things, isn't it? At the moment for me, that's just one messy head and messy body.
I think part of that speaks to the fact that it is really difficult because there isn't that research, and I do think that at school and throughout our lives, no one talks about it and explains that this might happen to you when you're in your late 40s.
But it's just almost, until you get there and you're living it, you've got absolutely no idea, have you?
And then you suddenly you think, or perhaps if you have a GP that is a little bit more switched on, they suddenly think about the age.
Yes.
And then they go, oh.
Yes.
Light bulb moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, that happened for me. I've got an awesome GP who is a young male, so yay to the young males out there and knowing their stuff about it. But it's interestingly enough been like the female GPs, and not putting them down, that I've had more challenging conversations with when I've wanted to change and try something different in terms of HRT. And the last time I've changed it for the third time, they were like, no, we don't think you should have this. And I said, but I've done my research, I know my body, I've also got autism, I've also got ADHD, and this is what I'd like to try. And yay, after 3 years of trying, I've got the perfect combination of HRT, which I had to push for. And, I'm still completely brain fogged as ever, but, body-wise, I'm not bloated anymore, I've got my libido back, I am not having, upset tummy like I used to, still do if I'm stressed, but not kind of, hormonally wise in terms of perimenopausal. So, that's lucky for me that I am quite blunt in how I speak when I go to the doctors and I tell them what I think I need. But there's a huge number of women out there that wouldn't be brave to do that, would they?
Yeah. And I'm wondering what your advice might be to someone that is, experiencing some of these kinds of things of that age that perhaps perimenopause and menopause might be a consideration, and that they're neurodivergent as well.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that worked alongside all of that happening in the last few years was that, I changed my career from headship to foster carer, which is, although it's with vulnerable children, obviously it's significantly different, and I'm mostly working from home now. I look back now and I think, I don't think I could cope with one day doing headship, and I probably would. I'd probably go in and just switch back on to my former self and I'd be fine. But when I have my kind of menopausal days, or I'm tired because of that, I can't function when I'm tired now. That is it. I am a complete write-off. Whereas 5 years ago, if I'd been tired, I would have just sucked it up and got on with the day. The weekend, we saw lots and lots of people, and there was lots of different people coming in and out of our house, and that's usually fine. But I was so burnt out yesterday daytime that I could not cope with seeing anybody, and I had to see people at the end of the day, and I really, really struggled with that. But that's part of my perimenopause as well, adding that fatigue onto the ADHD and the autism kind of burnout. Sleep more. Sleep when you can. Cat nap. I think I said this in another podcast. Like I had a little lunchtime hour today, and I just have little cat naps when I can now, literally just to kind of survive the day. And I know that's not ideal, but that's the only advice I have at the moment.
To understand what's going on and give yourself that space.
Yeah, gosh, yeah, absolutely, it's important.
And I think sometimes, you know, we're expected, woman within the household, that it carries the burden, and it might be emotional burden or whatever it is, to just push on through. And I suppose that's maybe why there are so many late diagnosed women that have been doing that for 20 odd years.
Exactly.
And then suddenly what they thought they could manage and deal with, suddenly because of the hormonal fluctuations and biology, potentially it becomes a little bit too much.
Yeah, and just, you know, and just so much more, isn't it? So much more to manage. It's I mean, it's so sad, isn't it? That, I mean, like, I think I was talking to somebody the other day, and they're like, "Oh yeah, my GP referred me to kind of this menopause nurse expert thing." I was like, "Oh, well, why haven't I been? You know,
didn't even know that existed."
No, exactly. I hadn't until a few weeks ago. And they're just like, "Oh yeah, why don't you check out if your GP practice has one?" But why is that kind of another postcode lottery that some GP practices might have this, you know, a menopause nurse expert and some don't? I got so low on the HRT and all of my own fluctuating hormones back at Christmas that I, you know, had the lowest mood I'd ever had before, you know, and I was worried about myself. And, you know, and that was happening at the same time as, you know, my son was about to go off to Australia, so my anxiety and ADHD was catastrophizing and overthinking all of that as well. But like you said, where is the link? You know, where is the link from the experts that I'm going to for help, saying maybe it's that plus your ADHD, that plus your autism, you know, so then you can think about then what strategies you need, can't you, depending on what that might be. You know, for me at the moment it's sleep, like I said.
And it's about thinking about the whole thing, isn't it? It's talking to the person, what's the biology, what's the context, you know, what's the psychology, all of those things. And making informed suggestions. And you said you didn't have any advice, but that sounds like a really important piece of advice, that check that there isn't a specialist in your local GP practice.
I know, right?
Because I had no idea that those are even a thing.
Yeah, absolutely insane that, you know, that's not common knowledge to, you know, to all females. I'll give you a good summary. My son, having just come back from Australia this year, my husband, his dad was talking about my chaos in my head the other day, and my son said, "I really, really love you, Mum, but you're completely bonkers." Which I took as quite a compliment, I think.
Couldn't you have just said back at you?
Yeah, exactly. I should have done. But and I said, like, well, I haven't, you know, it's only seen you the last few weeks since you've been away all year. And I said, has that increased since you went to Australia? He went, absolutely yes, by a load. You are far more mad than you were then. So he's obviously seen an increase in my forgetfulness and, you know, forgetting words and the brain fog. And, you know, walking back into the room 15 times. But like you said, when you do all that with autism and ADHD anyway, it's hard to work it out.
You can't. It's all about it's whether you notice that increase in that forgetfulness well. And I did the most hilarious thing earlier today, and I regularly forget stuff, but I couldn't find my phone. So I beeped it on my watch.
Right.
I was convinced it was in my handbag, and it beeped near me, so I thought, it is in my handbag. Beeped it again. It was in my freaking leggings pocket, and I'd forgotten that I put it in there. And so that's such a put it down to whatever. It's such a Helen thing to do. Ultimately, such a Helen thing. It was buzzing on my leg, and because I don't really, I'm not brilliant sensory-wise about my body and all that, I hadn't even felt it was buzzing. Even that is an extreme thing for me.
Also, I think it comes back to that self-compassion bit as well, doesn't it? If you're going to end up beating yourself up about that phone buzzing on your leg, you know, and I quite often think, am I having an autism day today, or am I having an ADHD day today? And now am I having a perimenopausal day today as well? But again, it goes back, doesn't it? If that's gonna, you know, you need to laugh at those things, don't you, about that being on your leg? Because
I did. Yeah. And there is an interesting question there, I think, that we've brought up before, is about this need to feel that there needs to be something going on for us to have that self-compassion.
Yeah.
Rather than just, I'm just a little bit forgetful. It's not necessarily brain fog or menopause or whatever. It's just, I'm having one of those days.
Or like you said, it's just me. It's just who I am.
It's just who I am.
Yeah.
There are people that are struggling in the years that we're in.
Yeah.
And they're not being supported and helped because people aren't making those connections. And
Absolutely.
I think that is the real issue, I think.
Yeah, and I think also, you know, from you know, my experience of friends that, you know, similar age to us, etc., that are, you know, having those same experiences, and they also all be neurodivergent. Are there support groups out there in your local community? I know certainly I, you know, watch a few bits on social media in terms of, sometimes a lot of the time it's men talking, isn't it? And I know some women would prefer to hear a female being an expert on, you know, on neurodivergence and perimenopause and menopause. But yeah, each day is a bit of a guessing game, isn't it? You know, each day is uncertain what it's going to bring. I mean, like, I know I've been a bit with my husband a little while ago today. I'm thinking, oh, is my period going to come? Is it not? Because at the age of 52, I'm 53 this year, I still have regular periods. Like, when are they going?
You're probably a bit paid off about that, really, aren't you? I was expecting the bonus of menopause. Let's get rid of the periods. Why have they not gone?
Man, oh man. I mean, I feel like they are just never, ever going to go. I think I was 15 when I started, so I haven't quite hit the 40 years.
Is that something you will celebrate?
Yeah. Did you get that impression? Fed up of them.
Fed up of them, want them to leave.
Yeah. I want to know how long this is going to be.
Yeah.
I want to be able to predict that, you know, if somebody said to me, right, for the next 5 years, it's going to be, you know, like this. I could put it in my diary.
But that's part of what it makes it really difficult, because of the unpredictable nature of it all, the whole of the process of perimenopause.
Yeah, and that's just it, isn't it? How long? I think I'm 3 years in, and yeah, I don't like that unpredictability.
The changes in the body as well, and you know, if you're already a little bit sensitive to what's going on internally, and suddenly, you know, people pull the rug out from underneath you because all of the things that you thought you had a handle on, now suddenly you don't anymore. And that's really disconcerting.
Yeah, for sure. What I'm trying to read more of and think more about is actually that we are absolute rock stars, and that we're going through this, or we've been through this, or, you know, listeners, you're going through it, that we are still functioning and, you know, working or being a parent or both, or whatever it is you're doing with your life, volunteering, or, you know, whatever it may be, that you're still doing that despite being neurodivergent, despite, you know, going through the menopause or having been through it and, you know, exhausted from that journey, that we are still getting up and doing our shit every day, you know. And I think that really needs to be celebrated as well.
And oftentimes parenting neurodivergent children.
Yeah, exactly.
High support needs, low support needs, whatever. And we're just, you know, you kind of do it because you have to.
Yes.
To a certain extent.
Yeah.
You know. But I think that the thing is that sometimes we keep pushing through when actually we do need to ask for help.
Yeah.
I think we have a tendency sometimes to think I need to keep going, and actually there's no shame in asking for support, going to the GP, asking friends if you do need that little bit of extra help.
Yeah. And, you know, and maybe friends is sometimes the better route, isn't it? Or, you know, somebody that you can confide in if you're struggling with knowing even what to say to a doctor or to a nurse, you know. Sometimes it's good to talk it through, isn't it, and have that empathy with other people that are going through that experience as well, you know, and just maybe just normalise it a little bit in your head as well.
There are so many women that are experiencing perimenopause and menopause, and to start talking about it being more open about it, educating our sons, our husbands,
very,
all of that
really
kind
important.
of stuff,
Yeah,
so that you know, they can be supportive too.
Yeah, and I think there needs to be much more of that, you know, in terms of just those comfortable conversations around the dinner table or wherever, you know, in the car or whatever it might be. You know, like I'm very good at sending my husband, you know, a good link that I think it might be worth him listening to or reading around menopause. But have we, you know, and we're a really open family, but have we had that conversation around the dinner table about mum being perimenopausal? No, we haven't, you know, and have you or many of your friends?
No.
Probably not.
No, we haven't.
But, you know, we can quite freely talk about other things, you know, about sex or periods or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, why hasn't that conversation come up, you know?
Yeah. Making sure that dialogue happens. And is, you know, taught in schools.
Yeah, wouldn't that be good?
Teaching in schools, for God's sake.
Yeah.
You know, sex, to talk about periods, why not menopause?
Exactly, yeah. My daughter had to put, you know, condom over a banana in a school lesson the other day. But like she said, she'd probably want to know more about, you know, she said I would rather know more about my body and, you know, periods and stuff. Yeah. So maybe they're not getting it in the right order there. Who knows?
The idea that we really need to start thinking about women's health throughout the lifespan and how neurodivergence affects that. So this is a call to all scientific researchers out there.
Please.
Do the research, listen to the lived experience to, you know, maybe find the pointers and move in the right direction to help and support women, because it's really, really important.
And even just from a, you know, an economic perspective, isn't it, supporting, you know, women to continue to be successful into their 40s and 50s in their careers as well, you know.
And however
just
they
because
want to be.
Just because they're going through the menopause doesn't mean that everything should have to shut down.
So thank you very much for listening to us, and thank you, Diane, for coming. We'll be back again soon with more neurodivergent chatter. And really, really kind of you to stay for this long. And if you again got any ideas, let us know.
Please,
And I'll pop some links to some research about menopause as well in the notes section on YouTube as well, and some of the other platforms too, just so you can have a read if you want to. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.